Hi everybody, this is Patrick Reagan. Welcome to this little bonus film I have on this DVD. Excuse me, I kind of had to burp for a little bit, but anyway, this is my earlier attempt at adapting the Ben Drown story in a little short film I made called The Cursed Game. I talk about this a little bit, and you also will see this in the short films DVD, like the Short Films Volume 2 DVD if you have one of those. I decided to put this on here, to celebrate that I finally got this new version made. And I also decided I didn't want to edit too much. The only things that I fixed really were there some certain parts that were too dark to see, and I color corrected them as best as possible. Also adjusted the audio a little bit, and you'll see the original behind the scenes stuff. Like, this is an attempt that I started in 2012, the summer of 2012, but I didn't finish it until December 2015, and so I decided that I would put this on here as a little bonus thing. I talk about it more, but here I'm going to... Sorry, I'm a little mildly out of breath, but anyway, I basically added some more. I have the movie, has the original behind-the-scenes documentary and the original audio commentary, and at the end I also did a new audio commentary looking back on it, 11 years later. And this has a skip feature. If you skip past this intro, you'll go to the short film. If you skip again, you'll go to the behind the scenes. If you skip a third time, you'll go to the original commentary. And if you skip a fourth time, you'll go to the new commentary. So feel free, enjoy this. This is like a little bonus thing, and, just give it a look and everything.
Let's see if I can find some new games. Let's see, maybe I can find where I can find some new 64 games. Here's an address. Okay, good. Now to go look. Hey, excuse me, sir. Do you by any chance have any Nintendo 64 games for sale? Come in here, boy. Take this entire box if you want. Only $40.
Good evening, everyone. This is KRAP News.
Thank you, sir. As we see, we're here on the site of a strange drowning incident that apparently happened. We have no idea what, but we suppose that the neighbor...
Who's this Ben kid? Maybe that's the guy who originally owned the cartridge. Oh, well, I'm gonna leave his name alone. Start a new file, name it Link. Wait a minute. Why are they calling me Ben? Maybe there's a little glitch with the Ben file, just delete that. There we go. Wait a minute. Now they aren't calling me anything. What gives? Must be a bug or something. Let's see. Whoa! What happened to the entire town? What gives? Whoa! That statue! Whoa! That's it, I'm out of here. Whoa. Wait a minute. Where'd this cave come from? Stupid statue again. Crap is following me. Back off. Whoa. Oh, what the crap? a glitch, probably just a glitch. See, maybe if I play the Song of Time. What the? Whoa! What gives? This is more than just a glitch. How's Ben's file back? That's what I'm done for the day. Hey, mister. Hello? Hello? Hey, mister. Do you by any chance know where the old man who lived in there is? No. Well, do you have any idea where he could have went? Or found any phone number or anything? I'm afraid not, son. Sorry. Do you know of a kid named Ben? Well, I do know there's this one kid named Ben who used to live there. I don't know much about it, though. All I know is that he was involved in some accident or something. I don't know too much information about it, though. It is now July 5th of 2012. I got this game from a shady old man. Majora's Mask. I thought it was like bugged and stuff. It was a bootleg. However, it appears that there's more to it than just that. I really don't want to. I'm afraid there's some kind of message being sent. I want to go through it and see whether it's a message being sent to me or whether it's all in my head. Either way, while I do hate to do it, I feel like it's something I have to do. This is strange. I mean, the bin file is completed pretty far, but it never saved here. Let's see what we have. What the hell? I cannot wait till I'm done with this. Try the song. I want to see something in the water. When it comes to the cursed game, it basically all comes down to, here's the start. First of all, The Haunting of Ben, like the Haunted Majora's Mask cartridge, has always been my favorite creepypasta and one of the first creepypastas I ever read. Where I first heard it was a friend of mine at high school told me he had a copy that did all this weird stuff. And I checked out online because I figured, maybe he had a copy that was legitimately cursed, but I also felt that maybe he had a bootleg copy or something like that. And I found that found out about the whole creepypasta deal, and, I eventually found out that it was all just, like a bootleg hack and everything. A really good one, and, even to this day, I still enjoy it. And, I came up with an idea for a short film based on it called An Unfriendly Game. However, I kept pushing it off because I was working on other projects. And then in 2012, during the summer, this was, a little bit before I ever did my senior project, I decided to do my own version, just simply called The Cursed Game, just as a practice run. And so, I started out with this footage at first. Act 1, Scene 1, Roll Number 1, Take 1. And action. Act 1, Scene 1, Roll Number 2, Take 1. And action. Hey, excuse me, sir. Do you by any chance have any N64 games for sale? Oh, cool. Cut. Act 1, Scene 1, Roll Number 2, Take 2. And action. Come with me. Cut. Act 2, Scene 1, Roll Number 2, Take 1. And action. God, come on, we need help here. Hey, you. Cut. Act 2, Scene 1, Roll Number 2, Take 2. Act 2, Scene 1, Roll Number 2, Take 2. And action. Excuse me, sir. You know where the man went down it next door went? But do you know any phone number or anything? Well, do you know of a kid named Ben? Cut. Act 2, Scene 1, Roll Number 2. Take 3. And action. Yes, sick kid? No. I'm afraid I don't have a phone number or anything. Sorry, kid. Ben? I've heard of a kid named Ben once. He lived in that house. He's involved in some kind of accidents. I don't know anything else about him, though. That's all I know. Cut. Hey, excuse me, sir. Do you by any chance have any Nintendo 64 games for sale? Cut. And... gun in here, boy. Let's see that. Cut. Action. Hey, mister. Hello? Hello? Hey. Cut. And then, after a while, I basically pushed it off, because I started to lose interest in it. I figured I wanted to work on other short films of mine, such as They Followed Us Home, and many others. And then eventually I started doing my senior project.
And over the years, I was working on my senior project, and then I worked on my next animated film, my first one in a few years, and worked on a few more. And I was experimenting with the live action, especially with the Spanish school project, and I was also experimenting with green screen technology.
And after doing all those films, I once again was losing interest in the Curse game. It basically just became something that was just on my laptop, and I never really revisited it that much. That is until 2015. After, I'd say during November of 2015, I started thinking of going back to revisiting the Curse game, and on December 25th or December 26th, after midnight of Christmas of this year, I decided to shoot some extra scenes and revisit it. It is now July 5th of 2012. I got this game from a shady old man. It's Majora's Mask. I thought it was bugged and stuff. It was a bootleg. However, it appears that there's more to it than just that. I really don't want to. I'm afraid there's some kind of message being sent. I want to go through it and see whether it's a message being sent to me or whether it's all in my head. Either way, while I do hate to do it, I feel like it's something I have to do.
So I used whatever footage I could, and something like this, I was able to use where I would come into frame in that costume, and then I'd stop, and I'd go back up there and come back, and I'd cut out the part where I switched. And I also wanted to pay attention to little details, like having the water running as a little bend drown thing, and even have the little "you shouldn't have done that" notes, and have where he's going in different rooms unescapable, as just like the actual game itself. And in the end, just with the editing and using my MP3 player to record music, I got it finished pretty easily.
So in the end, I ended up finishing this project. I feel a little bit proud of it. I wouldn't call it my best, but it was something that had to be done, with me being the completionist. And I figured that, you know, it would be a good thing to put in my DVD collection. Like, that basically became my... And it basically became my 9th film of 2015. And my 11th film that I've ever made, that I've ever completed. And in the end, I thought it was like a really good practice run. Because at this time I was just doing some stuff by myself, such as The Skull That Haunted Me, just for fun, just to get some stuff done. And at this point I was also finishing up my first feature film, The Summer of Life. And so, you know, after this, like, I hope to get other people to help me out, and I'll have more films to come.
Hi everyone, I'm Patrick Reagan, writer and director of The Cursed Game, and here we are. This is a project I started in 2012 but didn't finish until now, December 26th of 2015. Reagan Homemade Films. That's my little indie company that I do for any of my earlier stuff, not the stuff that I do right now. And I decided that I'd let Angry Kitten Studios distribute it. Originally I wasn't going to let this be part of my Angry Kitten Studios universe, but I decided I'd let that work. With something like this, with it existing in my universe, I am doing another adaptation, one that's more closer to the actual story, called An Unfriendly Game. So in the universe that all my films take place, and I decided that this would be kind of like a sequel to the story rather than an adaptation. So you could say, like, this is the next generation of the kid who's going to experience Ben. But that the old man that he gets it from doesn't really even look like an old man, so you could say maybe he's Jadu Sable, or Jadu Sable, I don't know how you pronounce his username, or someone else, or one of Jadu Sable's friends, or someone that the cartridge was eventually passed down to. It would be like an actual working cartridge rather than a bootleg one that was eventually cursed by Ben. Well, no, I guess it's up to the viewer what it is, because this one takes place in 2012. The Jadu Sable story, I think, takes place in 2010. Yeah, I believe. And I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but that's when the short film An Unfriendly Game will take place. This is all footage from 2012 when I first shot it. I'll let you know whenever the footage changes to 2015. And you can tell I have a blue shirt underneath this because this is a different day, and that's my original jacket, or like I had both that and my lucky jacket, but I alternated between the two. And this here is at our grandparents' place. Right here I walk out, and then I walk back, took off the jacket and walk here. It's very cleaner than I thought, but it's basically a jump cut. And I think the music and the lighting really adds to this scene, because I think this looks kind of like pretty atmospheric. I also like this scene right here where I'm looking in the box. I love that edit. These are all the games I had at the time. Like, I had more than that, because like now, because in Christmas of that year I got Perfect Dark. Still in the box too, like I have the box as a collectible. And I got some other N64 games from garage sales. I didn't actually put any money on the till, I just crinkled some paper or touched a piece of paper and made the ch-ch sound. That's a cartridge I've had since 2000. That's one of the interesting things about Nintendo consoles, unlike Microsoft consoles like the Xbox. Ours, like, have been working since the 90s and still work. This here's 2015 footage, and that's at my house. And this is 2015 footage at Grandma's in the back room. And this is back to the 2012 footage. I have the music from The Evil Dead, like I recorded it off of YouTube once. And for the most part, for any other sound effects at this point, whenever I was finishing up, I had to record it from my phone because the internet will not work on my current laptop. I'm getting a new one, a Mac. This is from 2015. Like, anyway, I'm getting a Mac in 2016 whenever, because there's a write-off law, pretty much.
Good evening,
This
everyone.
is
This is
2015 footage. That's
News.
Pete's voice from The Farmer. But anyway, it's where you can write off expenses, but it's not going to be passed until 2016. So then we're going to get my new laptop then, so that way it won't be too expensive. If you look very closely, you can see the water's running. This is also 2015 footage. And that was like a little reference to the Ben drown. This is 2012 footage, but that was like a little detail hinting of Ben's arrival. And right here I had a bit of a mustache. It's hard to see. I'm glad I shaved it. I don't like facial hair.
Who's this Ben kid?
That's a little, if you remember the creepypasta, he says goodbye Ben, but he couldn't decipher whether he was saying goodbye Ben or goodbye Ben, so he's kind of figuring it out at this point. And that table never looked cleaner. That was back, you know, before we moved to our new house. I like to come to my grandparents a lot for nostalgia's sake. We don't have that TV anymore, by the way. And so, you know, as of now, the table is cluttered.
Why are they calling me Ben?
But it might be cleaned up soon.
Maybe there's a little glitch with the Ben file.
I'm speaking as of December 26th of 2015, so who knows?
There we go. Alright. Now they aren't telling me anything. Look at
I had to leave, like,
Must be a
him being called Ben or nothing. I had to leave off camera because I wasn't gonna delete any of the files to do that.
What happened to the entire town? What?
Here's where we have like the recorded footage from Jedu Sable from YouTube. And the very creepy backwards music. Here's the statue, which is really creepy. I remember during this year I got Majora's Mask for the 3DS, and I was wondering what the statue was going to be like. I didn't look at any pictures or videos on YouTube. I wanted to see how it would look in the advanced graphics. And I gotta say, in the 3DS version, I was not disappointed. It actually looked even creepier. No joke, man. It looks, you know, like a wooden texture, and it, you know, looks pretty realistic. It's actually creepier than the one used in this.
Whoa, that's it. I'm out of here.
That's something that would automatically cause me to turn the game off. In fact, a friend of mine, he was once a neighbor back in 2012 when he lived near me, like when I lived back in Summerall. Like he said, he got a copy of this game because I think they released bootleg cartridges of this. And he mentioned it. Now, I don't know which one is entirely true. Like at first he said he got it from an old man, just like the story, but then the second time he said it wasn't from an old man, it was from a store. But I could tell the sincerity in his voice. And, you know, they do sell bootleg cartridges that are hacked to work like this. Like, he thought it was real, but then he was relieved when I told him that it was just a bootleg hack. But he destroyed the cartridge because at that point he didn't care whether it was cursed or not. It just creeped him out. And I can understand because, I mean, we know it was just a hack, a really good one, a really well done one, a really well done creepypasta. But you gotta say, even though it's not really cursed, there's no denying that it's creepy as hell. Especially that, I mean, out of anything in childhood nightmare, it's always the redeads. That's one thing that people remember as being the scariest thing of their childhood. And this music right here from Ikana Canyon, that music alone is creepy. It's like I don't think making it backwards makes it any different. It's creepy either way. And so is that moon, with that weird butt-ugly face. And that scream that he does whenever he puts the mask on. That always used to scare me as a kid, especially when you saw the close-ups of their faces. It mainly creeped me out whenever it was the Zora and the Gorok, rather than the Deku and the Fierce Detailing, because on those two, the way their eyes looked, it looked like empty eye sockets. Now, if anything that used to creep me out as a kid, it was missing body parts and empty eye sockets.
What the? Whoa. Forgive.
Back when my hair was short. I will say, luckily, because of how I shot it, like it's kind of like first half is 2012 footage, next half is 2015 footage, so it has a bit of a good, you know, like transition in between. It's not like it jumps around all over the place. You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you? Sadly, I couldn't get the text to look clearer, because I was recording off the screen, because at this point, and even still, I'm trying to find a way to do it. I didn't have a way of recording videos from YouTube, like making them look crystal clear. I know there are ways like you record them, but I don't have that technology. And there's the your turn. Even that would creep you out. I mean, even if you knew it was just a hack, there's no denying that that's creepy stuff right there. And this laugh coming up is also creepy as hell. And the deleted file has come back. That reminds me, I want to talk about a weird glitch that I have with Majora's Mask, and this glitch actually creeped me out because I was thinking of the Honda Majora's Mask cartridge. Basically, I started up Majora's Mask and both save files were deleted. So I figured, and I decided to start a new one. But it's basically where, you know, it plays a cutscene with Link, you know, grabbing onto the Skull Kit as he's riding the horse, but then as soon as he gets up, he dies. Then I go to the fairy fountain, he gets healed, but then he dies. And then I notice that all my items are ocarinas. That's weird because number one, our ocarina is stolen at the beginning, and number two, it's just each item is ocarina. It's like we have like 10 or 20 ocarinas at a time. So at this point, I turned it off and I wiped out the dust with a Q-tip and I put it back in, and both save files were back. And so it was very dusty, but it still creeped me out. If anything happens to a Majora's Mask game, it's gonna creep me out because we have this creepypasta. And right here, I just wanted to say right here that the sounds of the wind chimes in the background sounded so good for the scenes that's why I didn't put any music here. Strangely enough, just recently, I deleted a file on my Ocarina of Time cartridge, so that way I could start a new one. And then, whenever I booted up again, all three of the save files were deleted. I don't know if that's because that was the first time we've ever deleted a file since we've had it since like 1997, or 1998, sorry. But it was still pretty weird. Right here we do have some terrible lighting, but you work with what you have to work with. Right here I did something similar to a scene in John Carpenter's The Thing, where he's talking to the tape recorder, where we have it where you can see the back, where it kind of looks like something might jump out. And then next shot it looks like something's watching him. Right here. And it fades to black, so it's a reference to The Thing and even plays music. from the thing. That sound creeps me out. Here, this is something I didn't really notice how creepy it was until just recently, was the fact that it got saved somewhere. That file. That means that, you know, Ben was active and
This is strange.
like working with that file, so that really kind of
The
puts
vent
your
file
hair
was
on end.
completed pretty far, but it never saved.
Like makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up straight. And here, that's some pretty screwed up stuff.
What the hell?
To lighten the mood, I just want to say Link's thumb is pointing out of the most wrongest part of his body. Sorry if that sounded wrong and dirty, but I figured if any of you were being creeped out at this point, I just had to lighten the mood. Even I'm pretty creeped out of it myself. So I've read some pretty creepy creepypastas that have kept me up late. I mean, no horror film has kept me up late, not even The Exorcist. But really, the only horror film that has ever scared me to the point where I couldn't sleep was Eraserhead. Every other horror film I've seen, including The Exorcist, I could sleep perfectly fine. Although any creepypasta story and even some episodes of Ghost Hunters, I'll admit, have kept me awake. I just want to say, even The Shining didn't keep me up all night. I could sleep easily. It creeped me out, but you know, it didn't creep me out to the point where I couldn't sleep. Eraserhead's the only horror film that's done that. And I thought The Exorcist would do that too, and I was afraid of bad things happening, so I was praying that nothing bad would happen as I was watching The Exorcist for the first time. And strangely enough to me, it just seemed like a usual 70s horror film. It didn't seem any different from a 70s horror film. Although I can understand what made it so disturbing. But then I already read about it beforehand, so I was really expecting that stuff to happen, like the thing with the crucifix and like all the blasphemous stuff. I mean, that was pretty disturbing. And even though I like horror films, I was very dodgy about The Exorcist. Like, I wanted to watch it because it was a classic and everything. But at the same time, I was kind of dodgy because I'm more religious than I seem, or than most people might think. Right now it's adding to the mood because my grandma just went to bed. I'm at her house right now and it's raining a little bit outside. Hope nothing bad happens to that tarp that's on my roof at my house nearby. We had to pull the tarp up because the rain kept washing it down. We had to get on the roof, and I'm normally afraid of heights, but I was okay with getting on the roof because if I was climbing up a ladder to the roof, I would not like that. But I was coming out my window to the roof, so that kind of made me feel at ease because it felt more like just coming out of a door than anything. I always loved this weird music. It had kind of like a tribal thing, which I think really set the mood because it was a tribe that did hexing rituals with the mask. And I don't know why, but something about that weird tribal-ish music kind of sets a creepy vibe. I think the Bob Clark movie Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things had some similar type of music. here we have where Epona was basically pointing towards the water, so that was supposed to signify Jadu Sable that he wanted to, excuse me, go into the water to see what was going on. Sorry. Just to point out, I'm really glad my sickness is worn off, because I was like, I think I still have a bit of a fever, but I was having like a fever yesterday. I was a little hot and I was sick to my stomach, but it's worn off now. And yesterday was Christmas, or yeah, yesterday. It's not midnight yet. We had a really good Christmas too. I got the Angry Video Game Nerd movie, and that was really awesome. I got the Austin Powers trilogy; those were really funny. So I think like the first two are the best. The third one, I wouldn't say is bad, but it doesn't beat the first two. I thought it was pretty good though. I got Avengers: Age of Ultron, which I just watched a few minutes ago. I'm watching the Angry Video Game Nerd's audio commentary tonight. And here's the Ben Drowned part. Oh, and I also want to say that right after, I don't know if I already said this, but just in case, right after he talked to the neighbor, and it went to him talking about playing the game, that start with him talking about the game after talking to the neighbor was 2015 footage, and the rest of this here on is footage from 2015. Like, this is just from earlier today. I shot this. My grandma was watching TV in there. That's supposed to signify that I threw the cartridge. Now I got teleported into the bathroom, because at this point it's just like the game. There's no way out. I'm teleporting all over the place, even the old man's house. And here's the "you shouldn't have done that." I'm back in the bathroom, because Ben drowned. We have the final letter, and this is kind of a reference to the creepypasta where Ben said Ben was released, like, to the technology, like when he sees the letter saying I've been released. Then you hear the sound of the statue, which basically signifies that Ben is in there with him, and now there's no escape. However, he doesn't want to look, so he's trying to look out of the corner of his eyes, but then to no avail. And then finally get your jump scare. And I thought that was good. I ended with the Happy Mask Salesman laugh. This is Patrick Reagan signing off.
Hello everyone, this is Patrick Reagan, and it is, February of 2026, and this is the new Look Back audio commentary that I did for my original attempt of the Ben Drown story. Here I use Reagan Homemade Films. I use that for my earlier pre-Angry Kitten Studios films, and I use it for this one because I started it in 2012 before my senior project, but then, I eventually finished in 2015, and that's why I called it the Cursed Game, because it wasn't going to be the unfriendly game idea, it was going to be like a little practice one. Here I'm playing Shadow Man right now. I still have that video game, really good one, and I even featured it in the new version in the unfriendly game. And this is me when I was 17. This is the summer of 2012, before I started my senior year. So this was before I started my senior project. This is at my grandparents' house back when both my grandparents were still alive and everything. They had that small TV, which I really miss. I don't really like really large TVs. And here I put DVDs of the films I was watching a lot at the time. So you see Chicken Run, you see Evil Dead, though that's kind of difficult to notice. And this is supposed to imply right here that he's looking online to see if there's places he can buy some N64 games because he's getting bored. And I played all the characters in this version because I had no access to other actors. And basically, I'm wearing the Cozumel Mexico shirt. I don't think I have that shirt anymore. I got that on a cruise that I took with Marching Band, which I want to make into a movie one day. And I think it might be destroyed and in the trash now. Now, of course, I'm talking silently because I was really socially awkward at the time. I don't have that jacket anymore. It was put in that building. That building's like falling down, and the jacket was really moldy. This, of course, is in the laundry area. And this is when I first watched The Evil Dead, and I really love this edit right here. This is inspired by that weird edit in Evil Dead when Bruce looks out the holes in it, cuts that jump cut where Scotty as a zombie just rises back up. And here, this box that you're gonna see, right here, firstly, I love this little edit. That was really cool. But I still have that shoebox. I've had it for almost, an entire decade now. That's where I keep all my N64 games, and my N64 library has increased, because you'll notice on a DVD, on like an Easter egg on disc 2 of this DVD, that's, I got Conker's Bad Fur Day, GoldenEye. So I definitely got a lot of classics. And this is supposed to be like the old man's house. And this part was inspired by, I've seen a few adaptations of the Ben Drown story, but one that I saw that I can't seem to find basically involved, a kid getting the cartridge, from somebody on Craigslist, and there were more supernatural elements, and it had some music from Nightmare on Elm Street, which might be why it's not on YouTube, but I wish I could find that. I just remember, at the end he gets drowned by the ghost of Ben in the sink. Oh, and this is from 2015, by the way. I think this is also from 2015. Like, I couldn't find a cartridge I could use, so I just used the original Majora's Mask one. And I think at one point in that short film that I'm talking about, the Majora's Mask cartridge magically turns into Donkey Kong 64. Yeah, it was kind of weird. I wish I could find that one. You notice I have the close-up of the eyes. That's one of my trademarks. I developed a lot of my trademarks when I did my first horror film, 4 Steps to Insanity. And so that's where a lot of my trademarks kind of came from, that you see in a lot. And here he's saying goodbye Ben, and it's supposed to sound like goodbye then, and that footage was from 2015. My face hasn't really changed much around that time. My voice has a little bit. It was around Christmas. That's my grandma's trailer. And in a little bit you see him walking past the TV and you hear like the newsreel of the drowning, and that's supposed to be a little bit of foreshadowing. And then you see some in the foreground, you can barely see it, but you can see the sink running some water, which is also a little bit of foreshadowing. I went a little too far with the paranormal elements. That's why in this new one, I do like the shot though, but in this new one, an unfriendly game, I basically made the paranormal aspects a little more ambiguous. Here, this is originally how it was, but I went ahead on iMovie and color corrected some of it for the viewing process on this disc. And I talk about this on the original commentary, but I used to have a little bit of a mustache. And I mentioned I hated facial hair, but that was back when I was 20 years old, and I changed my mind, and I grow out a goatee every now and then. It all depends. And here, it's supposed to be implied that he's seeing, like, the Ben stuff, but I had to leave that off camera because I wasn't going to delete those files. On the new one, I knew I used the Switch download and play, so I went ahead and, played a game of Majora's Mask and named my character Ben specifically for that. I do love this little angle of the TV. I think that's pretty nice. And back then, I actually believed in the whole creepypasta like a lot of people did. Obviously, we know it's not real, but it's still a classic story. I edited this with Windows Movie Maker originally, so that's why it's so basic. I don't want to do any re-edits aside from the color correcting, because I want to preserve it. Because I have this and the original bonus features on my Short Films Volume 1 DVD, but I decided that I needed to put this on this disc and add a few more extra things. I wish I could have done this in 2025 for the 10-year anniversary, but, you do what you do, because, this is 10 years old now. That's recorded off of YouTube. Pretty decent quality for considering the camera that I used at the time. Of course, that's the creepy Jadu Sable stuff. And I talk about this in the behind the scenes, in the original behind the scenes on this and the original commentary. But, it's like I used to have a friend and neighbor. He kind of became an asshole, but I'm hoping he gets his life turned around, but I still put him in the special thanks in the credits of an Unfriendly game because he got me into this. And I mentioned this a lot, but he told me in high school, like in 2010 or 2011, that he apparently got the cartridge. At one point he said he got it from an old man, at one point he said he got it from a store. But he claimed that he got the cartridge and experienced this stuff, and then I looked online and found out the creepypasta stuff, and he said he wasn't sure if it was cursed or not, but it was creeping him out, so he just destroyed the cartridge. I considered having him in this film because I would have had him, like, with Sam Raimi being my favorite filmmaker, I would have had Brandon be my Bruce Campbell, and my friend Graham would have been my Scott Spiegel. And my brother would have been my Ted Raimi and Ivan Raimi, but to this day, I still don't know if Brandon actually got a haunted cartridge, like a cartridge that was rigged to be like that, or if he was exaggerating. I mean, he seemed sincere. He never seemed like, I mean, he's a lot of things, but he never seemed like the kind of person who would lie. But I don't know. And yeah, I talk about this in the other commentary and stuff like that, but, you know, he did kind of fall out of touch. I think he's maybe trying to get his life around. The last time I spoke to him on Facebook, I was trying to see about getting him to play as Cooper in Mindworms, but, you know, we were unable to do that. But again, I don't know if he actually got a cartridge that was rigged, or if he was just exaggerating stuff. So, unfortunately, I'll never know that for sure. And of course, you know, like I said, the editing was very basic because I use Windows Movie Maker, and I couldn't detach audio like I can do with iMovie. iMovie's pretty basic too, but at least with iMovie, you can very much do better editing. iMovie is basically like the high school of video editing software. Windows Movie Maker would be the elementary school. It's not ideal, but it's a good starting point. I used to edit so many family videos with that, so it gave me good practice. Because I love editing. I love editing videos. I'd hope to get that as a job one day. I just have issues with the studio system, and I'm really hoping I could, like, if anything, I do have a lot of original projects, but one project I really want to do is an adaptation of Illusion of Gaia. Because, I mean, realistically, I would never be able to do an official adaptation of Legend of Zelda, and I'm very much proud of the fan films I made, so I'm hoping I could adapt Illusion of Gaia officially. Like, I think that would be the next best thing. It's similar enough, and it's not Nintendo. It's distributed by Nintendo, but it's from Quintet and Enix, which paired up with Square. So I hope I could work with Markiplier on that, because I saw Markiplier's Iron Lung, and it was really, really good. Like, until then, I never really got into Markiplier stuff that much, but his Iron Lung movie was fantastic. And the fact that he didn't have any of this studio interference was really amazing. I'd hope I could do the same with Illusion of Gaia, so that way it can actually be true and faithful to the source material and not add a lot of political crap or sexualized crap or all this crap that everyone's doing. Or cynical crap, for that matter. I love for it to capture the camp and kitsch while also taking it seriously and also being, like, family friendly but still having its dark moments like the game did. And here, you know, you have, like, the haunted footage with the Your Turn. I mean, this is the stuff that Brandon told me about, that he had the file named Ben, he deleted it, he was followed by the statue, he saw Link dead, he saw Your Turn, and Ben file came back. I mean, he didn't tell me of the other stuff, but, I mean, it was kind of a weird Mandela effect, where the first time he said he got it from an old man, like in the creepypasta, but the second time he told me he didn't get it from an old man, he got it from some kind of store. So, yeah, to this day, I really don't know. If I ever hear back and he tells me what really happened, I'll probably make a little YouTube video talking about it, but I don't know. I don't know what he's doing. I hope he's getting his life turned around, but yeah, we kind of fell out of touch after a while. And of course, the Ben file is back. And you'll notice that this short film, this original one, doesn't feature stuff like Cleverbot, because I didn't really understand a lot of that at the time. I kind of understood this very surface level. And so that's why I decided to go to town on the new adaptation. Here, like, I'm really quiet, because like I said, even on my own, I was so socially awkward that I was very uncomfortable talking out loud, and you can even hear how stupid my voice sounds in the original 2015 audio commentary. Of course, I'm playing as the old man, trying to be a little bit southern, which is something I also repurposed in an unfriendly game, because an unfriendly game does borrow some elements from this, to an extent, because I want to pay homage and, to my earlier films. And I'd do the same if I ever did big budget stuff. Like, I'd hope we could keep physical media alive, and I could put, like, the originals on certain DVDs as bonus features. Like, if I ever did a remake of Mindworms and Unholy Land, I would definitely put the originals on the Blu-rays. Speaking of which, I'm also getting in the books, and you may saw on Amazon, but I wrote a book rewrite of Unholy Land. I'm planning on doing Mindworms as well. This right here is meant to be my homage to The Thing. It's based on the scene where MacReady is recording in the tape recorder, and you see those shots, like with the door in the background and the shot from the door to make it look like he's being watched. And of course, I color corrected it as best as possible because it was way too dark that it couldn't be seen, because like I said, I used Windows Movie Maker and a really shitty camera. Well, I mean, it was a pretty good camera for the time, but yeah, it's not the best in low-level lighting, like my Canon Vixia or even my phone are. It gives a special kind of charm, though, because I definitely want to embrace my earlier works. I'm not going to be embarrassed of my earlier works or anything like that. Well, I mean, I actually did color correct it for this. It's the original commentary that I didn't really color correct much, but yeah, I did do some color correcting here in this new commentary. And of course, the Ben file has the owl statue, and it's a little bit different because it has all the masks. And I've actually beaten Majora's Mask 3 different times. Like, around here, I was obsessed with the Majora's Mask game, and I beat it for the first time. Then, whenever I moved here to Colorado, I beat it on the N64 again, and then I played on the Switch recently and beat it. And so, I mean, this game really is truly a work of art, and the creepypasta is just as good, too. I mean, the creepypasta you might see as cliche, but it was very much the first of its kind. It's just, it set the bar so high that so many other creepypastas that tried to mimic it could not reach it. I mean, there was one that came pretty close to being decent, called Super Mario 64 Damned. I enjoyed that one. I thought that was pretty good, but it has some problems. It's definitely not perfect. One of the problems is when they try too hard to be scary. Like, I think Super Mario 64 Damned said, such realistic gore, so realistic, it looked like you could touch it. It's like, come on. Like, that's just trying too hard, not to mention it's not realistic. I mean, the thing that made this creepypasta truly unique was that the scary stuff that happens stays within the limitations of the Nintendo 64 hardware. That's another thing that a lot of these video game creepypastas need to try to take from. And they could find a different way of how they get the game aside from getting it from a creepy garage sale. Which, funny story, I talk about this in the behind the scenes and some of the other, like in the official commentary, but little funny story. I think it's from Jessie V. I haven't seen a lot of her videos in a while, but let's say in Canada, how they view certain movies is different from how it is in America. But with Jessie V, apparently her introduction to the Black Cauldron was she went to a garage sale, and this old lady at the garage sale had the Black Cauldron on VHS tape, and she found it absolutely disturbing and just let them have it for free. And then Jessie V watched it and found it really scary, which I find that funny because, I mean, that is like a straight up creepypasta kind of thing right there. So it's kind of funny to think that something like that happened. I mean, you look at the Black Cauldron now, it's probably nothing, but the Black Cauldron was surprisingly pretty dark for a Disney film. I mean, it was meant to be Disney's first PG-13 movie and almost got an R rating. I wish they could release the R-rated cut. And I do like the Black Cauldron. It's one of my favorites. I like the book better and think the movie's flawed, but it does not deserve the hate that it gets. And here, a lot of this, I forgot to mention, but this stuff was shot in 2015. Like, I stay at my grandparents a lot, because, you know, I was in a really pissed off mood because I was still pretty fresh out of high school around that point. I didn't really enjoy college because college life was different. And even looking back on it, one of the reasons why I haven't, I could talk about this in the other commentary too, but one of the reasons why I haven't gone to a film career was because film school kind of ruined my love of film. I mean, I still love filmmaking. I'm going back to it. I'm thinking of looking at different careers. I just don't like how the Hollywood system's going. I hate that there are so many depraved people in Hollywood, like Roman Polanski, Victor Salva, Francis Ford Coppola, who defended Victor Salva. But one of the things that my mom and a lot of my friends have pointed out is the unfortunate thing is you're going to find people like that in every single career field. So, yeah, I'm still going to look at film stuff. I just want to stay the hell away from those kind of people. I definitely want to stay away from Francis Ford Coppola. I don't care how many great films he's made. That's not going to change the fact that he's still despicable for defending Victor Salva. But anyway, besides the point, I'd hope I could get with the right people who could actually help me make my projects the way they should be. I'd especially love to be with somebody who could actually make Illusion of Gaia the way I want it to be. I know I'm not talking too much about this, but that's because at this point you're just seeing footage from the creepypasta, and there's really nothing else to say about it. Something smells off. I guess my brother's making tea upstairs. I don't know if I'm smelling the burning or whatnot, or if it's the litter box. I probably have to clean that. You guys probably don't notice something. I don't know if my cat just, did something. And I skipped ahead to this because in the underwater footage it was way too dark for my camera to pick up. And it was kind of inspired by the Haunting of Ben short film as well, which was a huge inspiration for this. Because at this point I had the idea for an unfriendly game. It's just I was saving it for when I could get the right people. And this is like a little practice thing that I did because I was bored. I kind of gave up on it. Then in 2015 I decided to revisit and finish it. And again, I'm talking about it now from a modern perspective because I finished, an unfriendly game. I want to talk about my earlier roots with this. And I can see my little Marvin the Martian thumb drive in the background. I don't know if I even still have that. And that's that laptop. That's the same laptop that we use for an unfriendly game. That's me pretending to throw the cartridge because I wasn't actually going to throw that for real. But yeah, that laptop barely functions anymore. And here I went kind of to town with the supernatural elements. It's like he's being warped all over the place like in the game, and it has the backwards music and everything. You shouldn't have done that. It's definitely a classic line from the classic creepypasta. I really love those angles, though. And a lot of stuff has changed in the past 10 years. Like, again, this is back when I believed in the supernatural 100%. Nowadays, I still believe in the supernatural to a certain extent, but I'm also very skeptical, because I know how certain things can be faked. And here, I just couldn't figure out how to end it, so that's why it ends like this. And that's the cursed game, and that's my modern perspective. I'm going to talk a little bit more. It's just going to be a black screen at this point. But yeah, that's kind of like my first attempt at trying to do a creepypasta. That's like my first adaptation of a creepypasta. Then I later did Condemned House, which I'm going to do a remake of, Abandoned by Disney, Candle Cove, Room Zero, and An Unfriendly Game. An Unfriendly Game was my first feature-length film based on a creepypasta, which I think was a feat to be proud of. But yeah, I don't really have much to say, but I just wanted to give my own little perspective on looking back on this film 11 years later. Well, practically 10 years later, 10 years and 2 months later, but you know. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this, and definitely check out the rest of what's on the, on the DVD and everything. This is Patrick Reagan, signing off.